your top five contenders ranked in order, Mr. BJ Armstrong. Talk us through
Why,
five to one.
why we always do these rankings? What is going on with the rankings?
Because number one, they perform very well on social media.
Oh, okay.
Which means we get more people locked in on the show because they've seen the clip and they want to hear the actual debate. And number two, I'm wondering how long it's going to take you guys to give up on Phoenix, who you gave up on last time, and Milwaukee, who I'm looking at right now. That should not be a top five right now. So I'm interested. I want to hear this.
Okay.
I want to hear this.
Who is my top team? Okay.
Top five.
Top five. My top five. Okay, top five team. One is the Celtics.
Oh, over the Nuggets now.
Sorry. Yeah, yes, the Celtics. Yes. Right now, the Celtics. Okay, I'm going to say the Celtics. I think Denver now is like second or third right now in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Denver is two right now. Now 3, 4, 5, I really like, but I'm going to go Minnesota. I'm going to go 3, Minnesota. I feel like I have to put Oklahoma in there right now because they've been 1, 2, 3 the entire year, so they're 4. And then 5, I'm just gonna say this. I'll go Cleveland.
So the Pelicans have dropped out from your list that you had last time because they were in your top five.
Yeah, the Pelicans are, the Pelicans have dropped.
Why did they fall out?
Well, every time they have a game, what we would call a signature game or a game that can, like last night against Milwaukee. Like when it's time for them to like step up and say, "Hey, we've arrived. We're here. We're just kicking in the door." It's not that they lost, it's the way in which they lose.
They didn't lose though.
Did they look? I thought they lost last night.
They won by 7 points against the Bucks.
Okay. I'm letting them go. I'm just gonna just say I'm not really confident right now with this team. I love their talent, but I'm not really confident. I thought they lost last night.
Am I tripping?
Yeah, I think you are, Mo.
No, they beat the Bucks.
Did they beat the Bucks last night?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I thought they lost last night.
No, they lost to the Thunder. They lost to the Thunder the game before in a game in which the Thunder Josh Giddey let them up. So that's never a good way to lose. Okay. But yeah, they beat Milwaukee.
Did they beat Milwaukee?
Yes.
Okay.
And now they got the Celtics today.
Yeah, I'm just not confident with this group here. So I'm just going to go Cleveland if you're saying right now for my top 5.
Scott, let's hear yours.
All right. Sometimes old habits die hard. So I'm going to start from 5 and work my way up to 1.
I like that. You listen to the instructions unlike
exactly.
BJ's in his own world. I'll leave
exactly.
you to it.
Absolutely. Hey. And I know this team has been playing just slightly above 500 basketball lately, but they got a key player back. They've had a couple of key road wins here the last couple of games.
Mm-hmm.
I had them at number 3, I believe, last time, but I'm not taking them all the way out of my top 5, and that's the LA Clippers.
See, BJ gave up. He didn't even say nothing.
BJ gave up, exactly. I know he gave up on him, but look, long as Kawhi Leonard is healthy, Russell Westbrook is back, and he energizes that group, brings a certain swagger to that team. Do I have some concerns? Yes, I do. But again, I like the depth. I like the talent. So I've got them in at number 5. Now, 4 and 3, a couple of newbies that weren't on my list last week. 4, Oklahoma City Thunder. Got to give them mad respect for what they're doing. And, kudos to them last night with a big win without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That team is showing me something. They're starting to compete. Do I have the concerns of them playing against a physical basketball team, yeah, I still have those. But they execute well. They play well together. I think their confidence is growing. And they have some good depth on that team. So I've got OKC at 4. Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be 3 for me. I watched them last night, and look, that's the number 1 defensive team in the NBA still. And the old saying that defense travels. For them to go in and do what they did last night against the Denver Nuggets, that was impressive. And they did that, I mean, really at the defensive end, because Anthony Edwards was not on his full offensive game.
What did they have, like 43 points at halftime? They allowed from the Denver Nuggets?
It allowed them 43 points. I mean,
I was flicking through the games, and I thought there was the error on the scoreboard when I saw that the Denver Nuggets had 42 points at halftime.
Look, we know what Rudy does on the back line, how he anchors the defense, altering shots, blocking shots.
Yeah, Mo, we do know what Rudy does. We know what Rudy does.
Exactly. and what's underrated too, I think he verbalizes well in the back line to the defenders out front. But they're very versatile defensively. They got size and length with McDaniels and
Nas Reed is there as well.
Nas Reed, slow mo.
Carl Anderson, yeah.
And then when your best player, Anthony Edwards, at the point of attack, really does a tremendous job on the ball defensively. That to me is infectious throughout your ball club. So I like what they're doing. You can see their confidence growing. And I think they're, primed for a deep run in the playoffs. Number 2 is still going to be the Boston Celtics for me. I've got Boston at number 2. Again, I do have my concerns, again, with the bench unit. Little concern what happened here in Atlanta. I know it's not the playoffs, but again, I see a few chinks in the armor, and so that's why I still have them as number 2. And number 1, again, I'm gonna stick with the defending champs, even though they lost last night. Until you knock them out, I've got to keep them at the top of my list.
Good list. Now, for me, the entire thing depends on matchups. And with the Western Conference being so close, like I did a video on YouTube the other day and the title of the video was why the Dallas Mavericks will make the conference finals. But that's when the Denver Nuggets looked like they were comfortably going to stay the 1 seed for the rest of the season. And the Mavericks were going to be in that 6 seed where they could avoid facing the number 1 seed until the conference finals. Whereas now, the Nuggets lost a couple games, the Mavericks are still in 6th, and there'd be a first-round matchup. So it's really tough to make these lists without knowing, especially the Western Conference. But the Nuggets, as everyone knows by this point, will remain number 1 on my list until they are eliminated or they are champions, because I've been believing in that all year long. So I'm going to keep the Nuggets at number 1. I'm going to keep the Celtics at number 2, because obviously 1 team from the East, 1 team from the West. But then after that, I look at the Eastern Conference and I think over 7 games, do I see anyone defeating the Celtics? And then I look at the other teams, right? So obviously the Hawks, we laugh and joke, but I like to think in a 7-game playoff series, the Celtics would take it a little bit more seriously and they wouldn't actually lose 2 straight games to the Atlanta Hawks. And even if they did, like they did last year, they'd figure it out. The Knicks do concern me because of if they get their guys back from injury. But that's an if, because I still don't know the update on OG's elbow, and it was looking swollen the other day. And I don't know how long it's going to take Julius to feel like Julius again when he comes back from his dislocation injury. The Orlando Magic are an interesting team, but I don't know if they have the experience yet or even the depth to make a really, really deep run. The Cavaliers that BJ put on his list, they're an interesting team to me, but I feel like there's just something about that team at full strength that just doesn't work. Like when they've got a guy missing, they can find a way to make it work. But as soon as they've got everyone together, it's like, oh, everyone's here now. Who gets the ball? What are we doing? And so I'm not feeling that. The Pacers, well, we've seen how they've been playing recently. Milwaukee Bucks, I'm not a believer in them whatsoever. after their most recent run of form. And Patrick Beverley's now playing through his wrist injury, but he's got some sort of wrist injury going on. But their defense they're just looking older and older as time goes on. And then the Miami Heat, who of course everyone's like, cool, the Miami Heat, they get to the conference finals every year, they get to the finals every year. You got to stop living off last year's work. Maybe I'll regret saying this, but I just don't see that happening this year. So I've got the Celtics on my list at 2 as the only team from the East. That's a long-winded way of saying that. And then the other 3 spots I got the Timberwolves, I got the Dallas Mavericks at 4, and I got the Thunder at 5. Thanks to Mr. Armstrong's what we spoke about last week in the most impactful players in the playoffs. So if you guys missed that episode, you can go back and listen to that.
Hey, it's interesting.
But I'm putting the Mavericks up there in the 4th spot right now.
The Dallas Mavericks were the team that I looked at moving at 5 in place of the Clippers. Just wasn't quite ready to do it yet. But
if they played right now,
if they were they were my next team in, like they had,
Scott, if the Clippers and Mavericks played a series right now, how's that series going to go?
Oh, look, that's a toss up there.
I don't think so.
No, I mean, look, what I'm saying is that would it surprise me that the Mavericks could beat them? No, not at all. The Mavericks could beat the Clippers, but also the Clippers are good enough to beat them as well too. The Mavericks are probably playing better right now these last couple of weeks. I think Dallas has won 6 straight.
Yep, 9-1 in the last 10.
And BJ said, and I said this earlier when I was on my spot on ESPN this morning.
Yeah, Scott, talk your talk.
Yeah, no, exactly. But that Luka Doncic is having an MVP caliber season, and with the exception of them playing the Denver Nuggets, he arguably is going to be the best player on the floor in any series, any team that they match up against in the Western Conference. So that gives you a chance. And as BJ knows, if you study the history of the game, if you have the best player on the floor in a series, a lot of times we've seen those teams and those organizations make deep playoff runs.
Absolutely.
So I'm not mad at you having Dallas in there now. I want to see them, and they're improving defensively. I just want to see them continue along that track of improving defensively over these next couple of weeks. If they do that and the Clippers continue to kind of play up and down basketball, they're going to jump into my list.